All right, councillors, we will start our meeting, open our meeting with the Karakia. Tracy, can you lead us through that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we will karakia to start, councillors. Whakatahau ki te uru whakatakatahau ki te tonga kia mākene ki uta, kia mātaratara ki tai. I he aki ana te atakura, i teo, i hoka, i hauhu, ti hei mauri ora.
Kia ora, thank you. Councillors, welcome to the council meeting for the 29th of June, 2023. We'll move. Microphone.
Our quorum is, what, it is 7 or 8, because it's 14, isn't it? It's 8, isn't it? Is it half, or is it quorum, 1 sir? Plus a half plus 1?
7.
No, there's 8, 5, so that's fine. 6, 7, Thank 8. You.
Yes, we do have quorum. Good spotting, though. Councillor Smith, yes?
Madam Chair, we will, of course, have to keep an eye out if councillors leave the chamber
So you're locked
for
in.
necessary reasons, but they may, in fact, leave the chamber at decision-making time. So we will be mindful of that.
All right. Locked in. I hope everybody has refreshed themselves prior to commencing. All right. Okay, so in terms of apologies, we have apologies from Councillor Graff, Councillor Downard, Councillor Kneebone. We have, we have late apologies for lateness from Councillor Strange and Councillor Hodge and Councillor Mahuta. All those, do I have a motion to accept the apologies? Councillor Nicol, and a second, Councillor Marr. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, we'll move on to confirmation of the agenda. We have a sizable agenda in front of us today, a number of key items that have been underway for quite some time for council, so really looking forward to making some good progress on those. I do want to note for councillors that item 9.7, which is the Lake Taupō, future of the Lake Taupō Protection Trust, we are going to move that item forward to straight after, it'll be the first item of business after the minutes. And that's just timing of availability of participants in that matter. So do I have a motion to accept the, confirm the agenda? Councillor Cookson, second, and Councillor Marr. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Disclosures of interest. Any disclosures of interest for items that are before council today or new disclosures for the registry? No. Good. All right. Our first item, we have a petition for Save Matarangi Wetlands. And I believe we have a petitioner online.
Yes, I hope so. Can you hear me?
Is that Peter Collins?
Yes, it is. Can you
Kia
hear me
ora,
okay?
kia ora and welcome, Peter.
All right. All right. Thank you. So can I start now? Is that...
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Firstly, I wanted to actually thank the Waikato Regional Council for investigating this matter, and actually also for putting a stop work on that work that started over a year ago. So thank you for that. And the petition, I think it started really as just local residents that were questioning what was going on, and also holiday makers that were also arriving and seeing what was going on. So a lot of questions were being asked, and various answers were being filtered through. So yeah, it really was in response to the devastation that was caused to this wetland. And so the petition was put about to see just, was there a large number of people in the community, and it snowballed from there with the way petitions work. This is the first petition I've done, so I'm not an expert on them by any means. So, yeah.
You're doing fine.
Oh, thanks. So, really, it's highlighted to what an important wetland is. I mean, been 20 years coming to Matarangi and living there for a few years. So, to see that rain recently and to have flooding in Matarangi was hadn't really been seen before. I mean, it's such a sand porous kind of area. So all this highlighted the importance of a wetland, and I think really the result we're looking for is going to be hopefully going before the court soon, and we'll have it reinstated in some way, that in years to come it will regenerate itself, but with the help of experts and ecologists that can give the parties involved guidance to achieve that. So yeah, that's really the petition was put together to help protect such an important area, and I think it does. I think the public was really at a point where enough's enough. We've lost a lot of wetlands throughout New Zealand. They sit on private lands, and people get to a point where they think they've got some right to destroy something that's of an importance for everyone. So this was particularly almost like it was so incredibly dense that the bush was just like so many pungas and ferns, and the trees in there, and the bird life was just phenomenal. There was number of kiwis were spotted, but terns at different times were spotted. When I first saw it getting cleared, which was the start of it, was a reasonably small area, around about half or the size of a football field, and the bird life was just going mental. There was just all this screaming and stuff going on, and this was right in the middle of our the country was all in a lockdown, and I just biked down and had a look and to see what was going on, and this bird life's all been displaced, and then it somehow, with different lockdowns and confusions over people not in work, in councils, as well as all companies were in lockdown except for some essential workers, this clearing happened fairly quickly. I felt a certain responsibility because I'd gone away on a long trip to the South Island. I'd spent 4 months in the South Island, but when I came back and I'd seen what was a football field size go to what was sitting on like 20 hectares of clearing, that's a huge area and a loss of such an important environmental area as that wetland. And I just can't reiterate more just how important wetlands are, but I'm feeling positive that the council have taken this on board, and really thank the investigators for spending so much time. It wasn't just a quick investigation. This has gone on for a good part of a year. So, I'm feeling really positive that the courts will, come to the party and figure out a way of reinstating the area to get it back to where it was. I just don't see that there's any room for development within, around, and close to important areas like wetlands. It's if we're going to do developments, fine, just do them in areas that's not affecting the environment. And this is a really important environmental area. So yeah, if there's any questions, or that's probably about all. I'm humbled that the petition reached that number. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Collins. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and speak to council today. As you've noted, this is a matter before the court, and so I won't, I hope you understand that I won't open it up to questions because we do need to, be cognizant of that it is a matter before the courts at this point, and so we need to allow it to work its way through that process. But I do appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. I appreciate the depth of feeling that has been expressed by the community in engaging with this petition, and appreciate you bringing it before us. So thank you for your time today, Peter.
Thank you. Okay.
But,
All the best. Yeah.
thank you. All right, councillors, we'll move on to, sorry. All right. So moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by, is there Councillor Marr? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillors will note that the signatories to that petition are included in the PECS part, so that personal information was not disclosed in our papers for the council. Sorry?
Can I just get Sarah to correct the record with the spelling of my surname, please?
You become a pirate.
And anywhere else she did the same.
Yes, I will go back.
Thank you.
Sorry, Laura.
All right.
Thanks, Lyra.
Okay, so we have a number of sets of minutes. I'm wondering, do I need to go through these each individually, or I saw that Councillor Marr was very efficient, that's the word, in his strategy and policy meeting, and he put through a number of them in one motion. I'm looking to you, Sarah, to.
And Michelle, we discussed it yesterday, and I'm happy to move that way.
Sorry, we're trying to put through a series of minutes in one motion. All right, so the ones we are confirming, we do one at a time. All right, okay. All right, so we've got the council minutes for, sorry, I'm just trying to catch up now. 27th of April, that's on page 11 of your agenda. Do I have a mover that those are a correct record? Councillor Hughes, do I have a second? Councillor Cookson, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, so are you going to tell me confirming and which one is?
One on your list.
These are all to be as correct, but I need to do those individually.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll work our way through then. So the next one is 7.1, which is the CERC committee. That's on page 25. Do I have a? We are confirming. Are we able? Well, okay, I thought you said if we were confirming, we had to do them individually. Which is it? If we are confirming, do we have to do them individually, or can we do them in a block? Right. Okay. So I can I'll read out the list of the ones we are confirming as correct. Those include the Chief Executive Employment Remuneration Committee of 26 April 2023, the Strategy and Policy Committee 3 May 2023, the Environmental Performance Committee 16 May 2023, Finance and Services Committee 17 May 2023.
Sorry.
Wait a
Madam Chair.
minute, no.
So sorry. No.
Oh, you've got these.
Wait a minute.
Have to go back for consideration.
We're going to do them individually, and what we will do is for our next meeting, we will be better prepared to ensure that ones that we can do as a block are grouped together just for efficiency. Okay. So I've got the CERC committee. I'm happy to move that. Do I, and a second, and Councillor Hughes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, I do want to acknowledge that we have been joined online by our well-traveled Chief Executive, Chris McClay. Welcome back, Chris. Good to see you virtually.
Yeah, just to confirm, I am back, and I had a marvellous time. Thank you. So I'm going to leave the running of the meeting, as you know, to Tracy, but I'll be here if you need any assistance.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so next one, strategy and policy. So there is a recommendation for consideration. So what we are doing is confirming the section A and noting that one of the items, one or two of the items are coming.
It is one item, Madam Chair, section B, which is the review of our significance and engagement policy.
Right. And that will come back. So Councillor Nicol, Councillor
Second.
Marr, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. EPC. Do I have a mover? In Councillor Dunbar Smith, a seconder in Councillor Cookson. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Finance and Services, the 17th of May. There is another recommendation for consideration, that being the section B item is the financial performance monitoring and forecast as of 31 March. So is that coming up in a? You happy to move that, Councillor Hughes? Councillor Cookson, happy to second? Sorry, can we just get that up on screen so councillors can be very clear? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, on to 7.5. This is the Integrated Catchment Management Committee meeting of the 23rd of May. Note that we do have an item that is coming up later on in the agenda. So we are just noting the section A items. Do I have a mover in that? Councillor Marr, and a second. Councillor Cookson, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Right, next we have the CERC committee minutes of the 29th of May. I'm happy to move those. Second, and Councillor Clarkson, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Wait a minute, did I just get out of order?
No.
I'm right, okay.
No, Madam Chair, the Integrated Catchment Management Committee was the standing committee on the 23rd of May. Now we're up to the special committee.
Extraordinary committee. All right. Okay, thank you, everybody, for helping me stay in line. I appreciate it. Okay, so this is the 13th of June. This is a B recommendation. And this is the one, sorry, this is the one that we're doing later in this agenda. So we are just confirming. All right, Councillor Cookson moving. I'm happy to second. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next, we have 7.8, which is the Climate Action Committee of the 13th of June, 2023. All Section A, moved by Councillor Nicol, seconded
Second,
by
councillor Slater.
Councillor Mahuta.
And-
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Tupa.
Can I make a quick comment?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just as a favour to the new councillors, there's a large piece of work we're working on in the Climate Action Committee called the Climate Action Roadmap. We're expecting that to come up as a Section B recommendation if it's approved by the committee at the August meeting. So now is the time if someone would like to feed into that, see what they like about it, what they don't like about it, and feedback to Karen Bennett. Because when it gets to the committee next August, you know, it's all quite close to finished and hard to influence. Just giving you a heads up to get in touch with Karen if you'd like to have influence there. Thanks.
Great. Thank you for that, Councillor Nicol. Okay, now we are on item 8.1. These are committees reporting to council. So receipt of minutes, resolution to receive all the minutes at once. Is that what we've got up? So we've got the Lake Taupō Protection Project Joint Committee. We've got Tekopua Kanampanapa and Waikato Regional Council Co-Governance Committee, the Future Proof Public Transport Subcommittee, the Regional Transport Committee. And we are noting all of the Section A decisions. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Hughes, and a second, Councillor Cookson. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Fantastic. All right, so now we are on to ordinary business. So as I mentioned, we are going to move, we are now going to move to item 9.7. This is the future of the Lake Taupō Protection Trust. This is page 224. Thank you, Tracy. And we've got Neville to talk us through.
Good, kia ora and good morning, councillors. We've also got our legal advisor on this matter, Thomas Gibbons, online, and which is, and I know that he had other engagements, hence why we've moved the matter forward on the agenda. I'll take the report as read, but we'll highlight a couple of points in there that I think are relevant, and we'll seek clarification on any matters of a legal nature from Thomas along the way. And the report is fairly comprehensive, and it's not a topic that's new to council. It has been around for quite a number of years, and the previous council had, I guess, it set some direction in terms of where they thought the trust was going and the operations it was responsible for. So over a number of years, the trust has done a great job of reducing the nitrogen load in the lake through the utilisation of nitrogen discharge reduction agreements with quite a number of landowners within the catchment, putting in place a cap and trade mechanism around the utilisation of nitrogen and the volume of it. As a result of that efforts, a significant reduction in nitrogen has been achieved and sustained. The trust was originally due to wind up in 2019, but has received extensions on 2 occasions now. Those extensions are due to come to an end at the end of this month. So for the next day or two, the extension is due to conclude. There was an independent report undertaken on behalf of the settlers by KPMG, and that report was presented back to council last year. I think it was late last year or early this year. And in that the recommendation was made to transfer the functions over to Taupō District Council. We did proceed on that basis, and the Joint Committee met in April to consider the approach of winding up the trust and transferring the nitrogen discharge reduction agreements and the management of those of that operation into the hands of the Taupō District Council, along with the residual funds remaining from the original investment that was made by the Crown, Taupō District and ourselves into setting the trust and its arrangements up. Subsequent to that recommendation coming from the Joint Committee, Taupō District had considered it and come back for a different proposal, which then came back before the officials working group, which is a representative body of which I'm a member, and Marley, and representation from the Crown and from Taupō District and Tū Whare Toa Māori Trust Board. And the proposal put forward by the by Taupō District is the one that's in front of you today, and that is that the trust is retained, and it's retained for an efficiency from an efficiency perspective. It was recognised that the time frame to wind the trust up and transfer or novate the NDRAs and transfer them was quite complex and cumbersome, and had been made more difficult by the fact that we hadn't really ever been able to clap our eyes on these things. So as a consequence, we didn't understand what amount of effort was required and what cost was involved. So under the proposed arrangement, the trust still remains, but it becomes the sole trustee of this trust is now Taupō District Council. So it remains as a vehicle more than anything else to enable the efficient and ongoing management of these agreements, that the existing trustees are retired and their retirement becomes effective from 1 July. Taupō District holds sole responsibility for the management and maintenance of those agreements, and changes will be made accordingly to the trust deed, to the project agreement, and all the other legal instruments that have previously been utilised to manage this project through to the point we've now arrived at. It is a strong recommendation of the Officials Working Party that we accept the process that's in front of us, and we've recommended that today. We've heard from the Crown yesterday that the Minister, who is the other party to this arrangement as a settler, has endorsed the proposed approach. We're the last outstanding party to make a determination on the matter that's in front of us. Now, look, I'll leave it at this point for questions, but as I said before, Thomas is online and more than willing to address any of those more technical matters that you may wish to raise.
Thank you for that, Neville. I am really pleased that we have gotten to this point and that we are finding a way for the finding the way forward that has already been agreed to by this council as to the direction we would like to see this travel. So I'm pleased that we've got a way forward there. I do see somebody online with a hand up. Councillor Mahuta.
Kia ora, thank you. Thank you for the effort, Neville, and to the team. Just confirming that Ngāti Tū Whare Toa is in a position of support as well, because we work with them on so many other things.
Yes, this is a preferred option for Ngāti Tū Whare Toa as well. They see the continuation of the arrangements in the hands of Taupō District as being one that's they're amenable to.
And just for my own clarity, Neville, does that include Te Kānapanapa as well, supporting it?
No, Te Kānapanapa have not been involved in directly in these discussions.
It's the split between the delegations, the Trust Board and Kānapanapa. No, all good.
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Are there, Councillor Marr?
Just very quickly, and noting that we have had information on this right through our term, so thank you, and I'm in support. Have we had any feedback, further feedback from Councillor Downard? Just noting his absence.
Not directly to me. I don't believe Marley has either. She's not indicating she has. So, no, he's been
Thank you.
offline.
That was all.
All right. Any other questions on this item? Do you have a recommended motion? Is on. Oh, sorry. Mr. CE, would you like to make a comment?
Yes, Neville, if you could just clarify, or maybe Thomas could clarify, the current proposal that you're getting council to recommend, it's that the trust itself isn't wound up immediately, so council will still remain as a settlor, but that might change over time, and that the main difference at the moment would be that the only trustee that remains is Taupō District Council.
Yeah, I'll get Thomas to answer that question because that has a material relationship in my mind with the guiding deed of the project, and that matter is currently being resolved. And as I understand it, this resolution authorises yourself as the Chief Executive and the Chair to sign off on any of those other instruments as the amendments are made. But I'll just check with Thomas on your question.
Yeah, good morning, kia ora. Thomas, sorry I couldn't be there, but I'm quite sick at the moment. But to address Chris's question, the role of the regional council as set law can't itself be extinguished because regional council set up the trust. But what we are doing is removing any further responsibility on regional council in relation to the trust. So Taupō District Council as trustee would take over all those responsibilities, and regional council wouldn't have any further role in an ongoing basis, except to the extent that regional council wants ongoing reporting, wants to have a monitoring role, and of course has some statutory responsibilities and roles to carry out. So the set law role itself can't be extinguished, but as I said, the responsibilities can be removed. That's effectively what happens here.
And so the joint committee would cease to exist as well?
That is my understanding, is that the reporting would change and be coming directly from the trust to the settlers, so from Taupō District's trust, in whatever form that we choose to require it. And those are the matters that are still to be determined through these ongoing arrangements. So I'll just check again with Thomas. My understanding is correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Are there any other questions? I'm not seeing any hands up or lights on. So moved by Councillor Hughes. Sorry. Sorry, we have lost our, we do have our quorum because we have Katarina online. Welcome.
Kia ora, Pamela. Sorry for lateness.
Nope, we're walking a fine line today. So good. We've got a mover in Councillor Hughes. Do I have a second in Councillor Marr? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I am pleased we have made progress on that. Thank you. All right, so councillors, in my bid for efficiency in the minutes, well, now we have to circle back. So okay. We have to go back to item 8.3. This is on page 102, 8.3. These are the future-proof public transport subcommittee minutes. There was a section B item that needs to be addressed by council and is not associated with any other items in this agenda. So, so we've got a mover in Councillor Nicol. And I'm happy to second that, but just wanting to give opportunity for any, oh, welcome Tippa. Any questions or points of clarification? We do have Mark in the room. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. So if I look at this properly, and tell me if I'm wrong, Mark, Waikato Regional Council too works with Waka Kotahi to submit review appropriate levels there. And Waikato Regional Council adopts the preferred option of operating Te Huia. What's the cost on that? And is it budgeted for, or does that put an obligation to increase the levels of funding in the LTP without having that discussion?
Through you, Madam.
I'm primarily interested in the commitment to increase funding.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, this is independent of any funding decisions of the council, which will be done through long-term plan process. The importance, the reason why the adoption of this is important as the preferred option is because of the relationship with some of the other moving parts, that if the council were to choose to take the option post 2026 of operating within the City Rail Link environment, those other parties that are planning for the implementation of upgrades to the Auckland service need certainty of what that starting position would be. So what it really is doing is it's preserving Te Huia's option to operate within the Auckland network. It's not making any commitment in respect of funding to meet those service levels. What it also does, though, is as it relates to some of the other resolutions, it does provide staff with some direction as well to start that long-term plan conversation about service level setting. Again, those aren't prejudicing the council's budget setting decisions through long-term plan.
Thank you. I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure how that's going to work out in practical terms, but yeah, preferred options generally lead to funding options. So I understand the difference. I'm just nervous. Thank you.
I'm just noting that the item E on that is talking about a detailed business case being put forward to the LTP. So I would assume that that's the position in which that funding is either advanced or otherwise. That's where it would be. Yeah.
Just to point out, that's a business case for rolling stock replacement, which we saw was the. So it's not necessarily the running of or the of the actual, yeah.
So councillors, I'll just give confidence that there will be comprehensive story told in regard to all of the matters around PT and the funding of that through the LTP. So while this is specific in regard to the rolling stock replacement, he has mentioned the business case, as they always have done, have been integrated across the entire office.
And just because there is a business case doesn't necessarily mean it gets funded. It's just doing the detailed gathering of information and presentation.
My concern,
Councillor
Madam
Smith?
Chair, is the unintended consequences of not doing everything at the same time and therefore doing it in parts. It can actually bind a future decision. I'm very nervous of that, having seen that happen elsewhere. Thank you.
Madam Chair, we are very mindful of that and will highlight those other matters of sequencing and funding ramifications.
If I may be able to add, Madam Chair, just to again provide that bit of confidence. You know, this can work in both ways in respect of the material that was endorsed by the PT Subcommittee and the work that was done in the lead up to that, and that the study actually, which has been called an addendum to the business case, as you know, they're effectively technical studies, confirmed several things, and one of which was that within the Auckland operating environment post CRL, there is optionality around service levels. The key thing here is really that were Te Huia to continue within the environment, the terminus upon opening of the City Rail Link would be the Strand. That's really the key matter here. Now, there was obviously pros and cons around different terminating points. The other piece of information within that, which is important, is that there is option over time within that operating environment for this level of service for inter-regional services, Te Huia or something else, to operate up to every half hour. And again, that was a really important component of the investigation that was undertaken. That was really the source of that drove this work, was if Auckland's frequencies are going to double after the City Rail Link opens, how is Te Huia going to operate within that environment? And that's really what this piece of work provides some certainty over.
Yeah,
Councillor
I
Hughes?
just support what Mark's saying. This is, I see this as a network planning option. And if we don't do this, then we don't know we don't have any certainty over the projections, financial projections for the future. And as Mark alluded to the other day, it may open up the opportunity for Auckland City to actually contribute to the operation of Te Huia as well. So I think we just have absolutely support.
All right. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Okay, now we are on to health and safety, right? Item 9.1, our health, safety and well-being report for April, May 2023. We're joined by Marie Fullerton. Welcome to the meeting.
Madam Chair, councillors, and for those online, I'm here to speak to the report, but take it as read, and we'll concentrate on the 3 items. Oh, there we go. Is that a bit better? Oh, there we go. I can hear that. The first one is an issue that we had with our InReach devices, and I brought one along so that you can get a bit of an idea about what this is. It's a satellite device that staff either wear on their person or on their hip, and it provides a 24/7 monitored service for staff safety, so they can call an SOS or help. What a staff member was doing is doing a monthly check to check that the device is connected, working properly, and they found a fault and reported this. And the importance of this and the speed in which the person reported meant that this global outage of this Garmin product was the company could send a message to all users across the globe, and it took about 12 hours to fix the problem. So, you know, we're saying great on our staff member for doing the check and for escalating that. If there are any questions around that, I can take that.
Councillor Hughes?
I'd just like to ask if there was an evaluation done before the commitment was made to purchase these items, which I fully endorse but these things have actually got the same technology in them now. Whether there was a cost-benefit analysis done between rating our people at risk in the mobile device, which is the same function, need to do, just asking if there was an evaluation done that option.
That's a very good answer on 2 points. We put these in place about 7 years ago. Just 7 years ago, we went out to tender, and at the time in the market, these were the best products. They're still a very good, solid product in terms of monitoring worker safety. So there's a difference around public monitoring and being able to use their phone to get help, and what happens in a work situation. Having said that, we have a data and communications resilience project underway involving our civil defence, IS, health and safety, and all devices that we're currently using, and looking at how in a situation such as Gabriella, how we might respond, how we can assure communication continues for any telemetry that's happening for water levels, voice communication for staff. We've met with our One New Zealand scientist who has indicated that full operation of a satellite system within a phone will be a couple of years off yet, and isn't sure how that might transpire into a work situation.
Yeah, maybe I'm not explaining myself, and I don't know what capabilities the devices have got, but these now connect to satellite under emergency situations. And I'm just saying 1 device rather than 2 should be more efficient. But without looking at the numbers, I can't comment.
Yeah, sorry, yes, we may end up with that, a one solution. But I don't believe one solution is the answer. I think it will be a mix of RT, maybe satellite function, maybe cell phone apps, and it will depend on your location and the type of work that you will be doing. So I think it will take us a bit of time to work through this, but we will bring that solution to you in time.
Great.
Mm.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Smith?
I'd just like to endorse the fact that having been in emergency situations when I was in the police and a controller, having alternate systems when one goes redundant is absolutely vital. So while I agree with Chris that the Vodafone or One Network will give coverage in time, I'm sure all the other networks will too, but to have alternative options is probably the best practice.
Mm.
And I certainly heard that discussion around the regional sector group post Gabriel, that that those councils who had reverted to just one solution found themselves in a bit of a pickle. So yeah, so certainly endorse ensuring there is redundancy, particularly when it comes to health and safety. All right. Any other questions on this report? Online.
I'm just going to ask about.
Oh yes, Councillor Dunbar Smith.
Yeah, sorry. Was that around the psychological risk?
I don't know. You've just got listed here 2 threats, aggression, violence, and an indication that there's been more incidents this month than there have previously been last year. Overall.
Yes.
Agenda page.
Yeah, so that's around our incident reporting. Actually, it's up to 40 for the month, and it's almost a record that we've ever had. I think there's 3 things that are.
Sorry, that's total incidents?
Total incidents.
Right.
And if you look at the 15 were near miss reporting, I think that's attributed to several things, which is we've been pushing this message, as you know, about near miss reporting. And staff are feeling very confident that if they put a report into Dampstra, that something's going to happen. So it's around feeling confident about that. And also, this is a very busy time of the year, and our June stats are looking very similar to what we're seeing here. They are definitely on the increase, which is a great thing. We need to have these reports.
But just to clarify, Councillor Dunbar Smith's question, he's specifically asking about the 2 incidents of threat, aggression, and violence. Are you able to elaborate on those incidents at all?
One of those, our staff were over at Steel Park over in Hamilton East, and they were testing a drone, and they had a member of the public feeling very upset about what that drone was doing, and become quite violent, so they had to pack up and leave pretty quickly. The second was around a compliance notice being issued, so that with it brought a little bit of aggression.
Yeah. All right. Just wondering where we would see trend data, particularly in that threat, aggression, and violence level. I just note that conversations that I've had with other councils that has been the subject of discussion, a concern that there has been an increase in aggressive behavior towards either councillors themselves or staff. Just wondering if we. Yeah.
Madam Chair, I was just wondering if I could make a suggestion in relation to this is our final report for the 22-23 year, so whether at our next council meeting we do some of that trend analysis for the past year and bring it back and see if there has been any increased incidents in any of the matters reported.
Thank you. Yes.
That be with prior years, because within a year that may not be as informative as prior years. And the other issue is if you've got 2 this year and 4 last year, that shows a 50% decrease. You know, it's
yeah.
So,
Well, I'm sure that will be taken into consideration in the analysis. I've got Councillor Marr and then Councillor Cookson.
If I can just go back to the drone incident, one, were police involved, but two, do we have working rules around the drones? And obviously there are aviation rules and also public flying over people's houses and stuff like that. So just a question, did we bring it upon ourselves, or was it someone just took exception to the fact that there was a drone up over a park?
I think it was the latter. We do have good procedures and processes in place for the use of drones. And so I think it was just a member of the public aggravated by, are you spying on me, kind of.
Through you, Madam Chair. So we've tested the drone in Steel Park that we used for the last 5 or 6 years. Because it is a public place, you can fly. We've also talked with Hamilton City Council as it's a public reserve and you are able to fly, and it's really calibrating the drone for the environmental monitoring team out in the field. So we've done it for the last 5 or 6 years, and it's the first time we've encountered anyone who's felt a little bit agitated.
Councillor Cookson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mine is, I've already brought this up with Stuart Brown, but mine is just being very aware when you're engaging with community at the moment that they are getting tired and they've been wet for 9 months and they're going to get rate increases in the next little while. And when you come to a property and you're getting rated and you've got more water than you've ever seen, I think you just got to be very careful how you engage with community over the next 9 to 12 months, that you're not going to get a double, a shot over the bow just for turning up, and not that they're deliberately wanting to be aggressive, but the most probably
there's some short fuses.
Yeah, and that's all I'm trying to warn you. I just want you to be aware that they aren't people that want to be angry, but they're so frustrated and confused at the moment, and I think you just got to be aware of that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for raising that. All right. Do I have a mover to accept the health and safety report? Councillor Smith, second.
Yeah.
Councillor Dunbar Smith. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Now the next 3 items are all sort of interrelated. We're on item 9.2. Page 128. This is the adoption of the 2023-2024 annual plan. We have Janine Becker to talk us through this item. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, councillors. So very pleased to be able to present to you today the final 23-24 annual plan document. This reflects the budget that council signed off way back in February this year. I guess in the development of the annual plan, council has had to steer that really careful course, needing to balance the need to address those external economic pressures with the impact of rates increases on communities. And so while the increase in rates is above the level signalled in the LTP, it is below the headline and CPI inflation that we've seen at this time as we've been setting budgets. Plan really is very much in line with the direction set through the LTP. It has been those external factors around inflation, interest rates, and the like that have seen the most substantial impact on the resulting rates revenue increase of 5% to existing ratepayers. As always, and Councillor Cookson, I guess to acknowledge your comments just on the previous item, we must acknowledge that the impact of those increases in rates revenue fit very differently with different parts of our community, depending on location, value of property, as well as the services that each ratepayer receives from this council. And so to try to provide a little bit of context to that, we have included within the report that sort of distribution of the rating impacts Now, while that, represents that for 85% of our ratepayers, the increase is less than $50 per annum, we do acknowledge that there is no such thing as an average ratepayer, and there is a part of the community that will be much more impacted than the numbers spoken about when we talk broad averages. In terms of the overall increase, though, just to note that that is slightly lower than where council had landed in February. So I think we'd sort of landed at 5.7. There's been no magic that's happened in the meantime, other than as we've run those through our budgeting process, budgeting model, we have been able to bring that the actual impact to ratepayers down to that 5. So happy to take any questions on.
Councillor Hughes.
Through you, Madam Chair. Janine, thanks very much for that, and it's extremely encouraging to see that we've come at it. And I think if it had been known at the time, would have settled it a lot easier with councillors around the table when we were having those discussions, which is comfortable at times. And I would like to, it's unfortunate that we don't have the fact that the number is actually lower than what originally reported. Media people to gets out to the ratepayers. Thank you.
Councillor Dunbar-Smith.
Oh, I was just going to, reading that 5.1, thinking, have I got it wrong? Did I misunderstand 5.8 we agreed on it? So I was going to ask you for a technical explanation of where I got it wrong, but great, that's great news. So, early Christmas.
I do think it is fantastic news. We already spoke this morning, Janine, about that was a happy outcome from my perspective, because I think we have been able to as much as we can strike that balance between undertaking the work that we have before us in terms of the LTP and the necessary endeavors of this council, but being very respectful of our community's ability to pay their rates and addressing that affordability issue. So really positive from my point of view. Councillor Smith.
Madam Chair, one of the issues when we went out with that 5.8 that came to my attention from a very experienced comms person was they said to me it was one of the best messages they had heard in the rating space, insofar as the key message was we've achieved below the current level of inflation. I just would suggest you build on that with this messaging. Thank you.
Right. Just out of interest, Janine, do we know where that sits in relation to other regional sector?
Through you, Madam Chair, I have seen that there's been a survey going through regional chief executives in terms of where the sector sits. Certainly it is at the bottom end. The sample size when I'd seen the interim results wasn't large, but anecdotally I think we hear that other councils are much higher. I think when we had Brad Olsen in for a workshop, he'd noted one council that he was aware of with a sub 5% increase, and he was rather surprised by that. So I think we're in a minority in terms of being able to actually present a budget of this nature in the current environment that we're operating.
And still facilitate the work that we
and
have to
certainly
deliver
still
on,
not,
which I think
still
is
not have to trade off decisions around what services we're providing.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Nicol.
I won't repeat what others have said, but well done, Janine, and to your whole team. This is always a massive piece of. Thank you very much.
All right, I heard we had a mover in Councillor Hughes.
Happy to second.
And a second in Councillor Nicol. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Well done, everyone. Fantastic. All right, now we are on 9.3. This is page 133. This is the rate setting report. Is this you as well, Janine?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So with council having adopted its annual plan, this report is really the mechanism by which we give effect to that plan by the setting of rates. So the whole report is effectively a resolution for you that just puts in place and allows us to strike and assess those rates for our ratepayers. I do need to note one very minor correction on page 153 of the agenda, where the total revenue requirement for the permitted activity monitoring rate is missing a number. So that should read as 1810189.
Sorry, what paragraph are you on there?
So it's page 153.
153?
It's just
right.
Paragraph 112. There's just a digit missing from the number that's included there.
All right, we've got those corrections. Right. Any other questions? Councillor Hughes?
Without wishing to prolong this agenda item, Janine, I just wonder whether it would be useful for you, councillors, an overview of the effect of the valuations rates, which is not evident through in here, but that's going to be flowing through into particularly the targeted rate, which may come as a bit of a surprise. The 4% is only a part of the.
Through you, Madam Chair, it's probably, it's noted in the previous report in terms of the adoption of the annual plan that we have had 3 district councils in the region revalue this year. I think it's important to remember that revaluations don't change the total amount of revenue that council collects, but it will absolutely change the distribution of that liability for rates within the community. So the three areas that have revalued this year were Otorohanga District Council, Taupō District Council and Waipa. Those movements in values, as you can probably appreciate, have been fairly significant. And so we will see that revaluation impacting some sectors of those communities to a much larger extent than others. Unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do about that. We do, from a general rate perspective, take those valuations into account and try to equalise it as if everybody had revalued at the same point in time.
All right. There's no other questions. Do I have a mover that the report is received? Councillor Hughes, second, and Councillor Nicol. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Now, did David?
Yeah,
Yeah, we've got the adoption of this is 9.4, but I don't know that the auditor is with us.
I think staff are just trying to track him down.
All right. Well, we'll come back to that one then, shall we?
Okay.
Okay. So we'll move forward to item 9.5. Well, first of all, do I have any indication of how far away he is? Is he just in reception or is he out of the building? Okay, because I don't want to move forward if he's just moments away. All right, well, we'll hold tight until should we do that? Should we take yeah, we'll take 5 minutes and then come back. So we'll just adjourn. It's 10:35. We'll commence at 10:40.